Welcome to Bible in a Year with Scott Purcell. I'm so glad you're joining me. This is a daily reading of portions of the Bible, following a plan that will include the entire Bible in a year. And now, let's open the book and begin our readings. This is the reading for day 69. If your reading is aligned with the calendar year in a non-leap year, this is for March 10th, or in a leap year for March 9th. The Old Testament reading is from Leviticus 21 and Leviticus 22. Leviticus 21. Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Speak to the priests, Aaron's sons, and say to them, one must not make himself unclean for a dead person among his own people, except for his direct relative closest to him, his mother and his father, and his son and his daughter, and his brother, and for his sister, a virgin who is closest to him, who has not had a husband. For her he may defile himself. He must not make himself unclean as a kinsman by marriage, defiling himself. And they shall not shave bald patches on their head, and they shall not shave off the corner of their beard, and they shall not make a cut in their body. They shall be holy to their God, and they shall not profane the name of their God, because they are bringing near the offerings made by fire to Yahweh, their God's food, and they shall be holy. They shall not marry a woman who is a prostitute and defiled, nor shall they marry a woman divorced from her husband, because each priest is holy for his God. And you shall consecrate him, because he is bringing near your God's food. He shall be holy to you, since I, Yahweh, who consecrates you, am holy. As for the daughter of any priest, if she is defiled by prostituting, she is disgracing her father, she shall be burned in the fire. As for the priest who is higher than his brothers, on whose head the oil of anointment is poured, and he was ordained to wear the garments, he shall not dishevel his head, and he shall not tear his garments. And he shall not go near any dead person, nor shall he make himself unclean for his father or for his mother. And he shall not go out from the sanctuary, and he shall not profane his God's sanctuary, because the dedication of his God's oil of anointment is on him. I am Yahweh. And he himself must take a wife in her virginity. A widow or a divorced woman or a defiled woman, a prostitute, these he must not take. He shall take only a virgin from his people as wife. And he shall not profane his offspring among his people, because I am Yahweh who consecrates him. Then Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron, saying, A man from your offspring throughout their generations, in whom is a physical defect, shall not come near to present your God's food. Indeed, any man in whom is a physical defect shall not come near, a blind man, or lame, or disfigured, or deformed, or a man in whom is a broken foot, or a broken hand, or a hunchback, or a dwarf, or a spot in his eye, or a skin disorder, or a skin eruption, or a crushed testicle. Any man from Aaron the priest's offspring in whom is a physical defect shall not come near to present offerings made by fire to Yahweh. A physical defect is in him. He shall not come near to present his God's food. He may eat his God's food from the most holy things and from the holy things, but he must not enter the curtain, and he must not come near to the altar, because a physical defect is in him. And he must not profane my sanctuary, because I am Yahweh who consecrates them. Thus Moses spoke to Aaron and to his sons and to all the Israelites. Leviticus 22. Then Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Tell Aaron and his sons that they must deal respectfully with the Israelites' votive offerings, and they must not profane my holy name, which they are consecrating to me. I am Yahweh. Say to them, throughout your generations, Any man from any of your offspring who comes near the votive offerings that the Israelites consecrate to Yahweh with his uncleanness on him, that person shall be cut off from before me. I am Yahweh. Anyone from Aaron's offspring, if he is afflicted with a skin disease or a fluid discharge, shall not eat in the sanctuary until he is clean. And the one who touches any unclean person, or a man from whom an emission of semen goes out, or a man who touches any swarmer that is unclean for him, or who touches a person who is unclean for him due to whatever his uncleanness. A person who touches such a thing shall be unclean until the evening, and he shall not eat from the votive offerings, except when he washes his body with water, and the sun sets, and he shall be clean. Then afterward he may eat from the votive offerings, because it is his food. He shall not eat a naturally dead body, or a mangled carcass, so that he becomes unclean by it. I am Yahweh. And they shall keep my obligation, and they shall not incur guilt because of it, so that they die through it, because they have profaned it. I am Yahweh who consecrates them. No stranger shall eat the votive offering, nor shall a temporary resident with a priest or a hired worker eat the votive offering. But a priest, if with his money he buys a person as his possession, that one may eat it, and the descendants of his house themselves may eat his food. And a priest's daughter, when she marries a layman, she herself may not eat the votive offering. But a priest's daughter, when she becomes a widow or divorced, or there is no offspring for her, and she returns to her father's house as in her childhood, she may eat from her father's food, but no layman may eat it. And if a man eats the votive offering unintentionally, then he shall add to it a fifth of it, and he shall give the votive offering to the priest. And they shall not profane the Israelites' votive offerings that they present to Yahweh, and so cause them by their eating their votive offerings to bear guilt, requiring a guilt offering, because I am Yahweh who consecrates them. Then Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and to his sons and to all the Israelites, and say to them, Anyone from the house of Israel or from the alien in Israel who presents his offering for any of their vows or for any of their free will offerings that they present to Yahweh as a burnt offering, it must be without defect to be acceptable for you. A male among the cattle, among the sheep, or among the goats, you shall not present any animal in which is a physical defect, because it shall not be acceptable for you. And if anyone brings a sacrifice of fellowship offerings for Yahweh to fulfill a vow, or as a freewill offering from the cattle or from the flock, it must be without defect to be acceptable. There must not be any physical defect in it. The blind, or the injured, or the maimed, or the seeping, or one with a skin disorder, or one with a skin eruption, these you shall not present to Yahweh, nor shall you give from them an offering made by fire on the altar for Yahweh. As for an ox or sheep that is deformed or that is stunted, you may present it as a free will offering, but for a vow it will not be accepted. And you shall not present anything for Yahweh with bruised or shattered or torn or cut off testicles, and you shall not sacrifice such in your land. And you shall not present your God's food from any of these by the hand of a foreigner, because their deformity is in them, a physical defect is in them, they shall not be accepted for you. Then Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, When an ox or a sheep or a goat is born, then it shall be under its mother for 7 days, and from the 8th day and beyond it is acceptable as an offering made by fire for Yahweh. And you shall not slaughter an ox or a sheep or its young on the same day. And when you sacrifice a sacrifice of thanksgiving to Yahweh, you must sacrifice it to be acceptable for you. It must be eaten on that day. You must not leave over anything from it until morning. I am Yahweh. Thus you shall keep my commands, and you shall do them. I am Yahweh. And you shall not profane my holy name, so that I may be consecrated in the midst of the Israelites. I am Yahweh who consecrates you, the one who brought you out from the land of Egypt, to be as God for you. I am Yahweh. The New Testament reading is from Mark 15, verses 1 through 32. Mark 15:1. And as soon as morning came, after formulating a plan, the chief priest with the elders and scribes and the whole Sanhedrin tied up Jesus, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate. And Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And he answered him and said, "You say so." And the chief priest began to accuse him of many things. So Pilate asked him again, saying, "Do you not answer anything? See how many charges they are bringing against you?" But Jesus did not answer anything further, so that Pilate was astonished. Now at each feast he customarily released for them one prisoner whom they requested. And the one named Barabbas was imprisoned with the rebels who had committed murder in the rebellion. And the crowd came up and began to ask him to do as he customarily did for them. So Pilate answered them, saying, "Do you want me to release for you the king of the Jews?" For he realized that the chief priest had handed him over because of envy. But the chief priest incited the crowd so that he would release for them Barabbas instead. So Pilate answered and said to them again, "Then what do you want me to do with the one whom you call the king of the Jews?" And they shouted again, "Crucify him." And Pilate said to them, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they shouted even louder, "Crucify him." So Pilate, because he wanted to satisfy the crowd, released for them Barabbas. And after he had Jesus flogged, he handed him over so that he could be crucified. So the soldiers led him away into the palace, that is, the governor's residence, and called together the whole cohort. And they put a purple cloak on him, and after weaving a crown of thorns, they placed it on him. And they began to greet him, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they repeatedly struck him on the head with a reed, and were spitting on him. And they knelt down and did obeisance to him. And when they had mocked him, they stripped him of the purple cloak, and put his own clothes on him, and they led him out so that they could crucify him. And they forced a certain man who was passing by, Simon of Cyrene, the father of Alexander and Rufus, who was coming from the country, to carry his cross. And they brought him to the place Golgotha, which is translated, place of a skull. And they attempted to give him wine mixed with myrrh, but he did not take it. And they crucified him, and divided his clothes among themselves by casting lots for them to see who should take what. Now it was the 3rd hour when they crucified him. And the inscription of the charge against him was written, "The King of the Jews." And with him they crucified 2 robbers, one on his right and one on his left. And those who passed by reviled him, shaking their heads and saying, "Aha! The one who would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself by coming down from the cross." In the same way also the chief priests, along with the scribes, were mocking him to one another, saying, "He saved others. He's not able to save himself. Let the Christ, the King of Israel, come down now from the cross so that we may see and believe." Even those who were crucified with him were reviling him. The wisdom literature reading is from Psalm 31, verse 19 through 24. Psalm 31, 19. How abundant is your goodness that you have stored up for those who fear you, that you perform for those who take refuge in you before the children of humankind. You will hide them in the protection of your presence from the plots of man. You will hide them in a shelter from the strife of tongues. Blessed is Yahweh, because he has worked marvelously his loyal love to me in a besieged city. As for me, I said in my alarm, I am cut off from before your eyes. However, you heard the voice of my supplications when I cried to you for help. Love Yahweh, all you, his faithful ones. Yahweh preserves the faithful, but repays abundantly the one who acts arrogantly. Be strong, and let your heart show strength, all you who wait for Yahweh. This concludes the reading for Day 69. Thank you for listening. These daily readings are made possible by your generous support of the Global Outreach Ministry of Scott Purcell. To partner with us and enable this work and others like it, please visit huttobible.com/give and select Go Pastor Support from the fund list. You can also sign up for ministry updates at scott-purcell.epistle.org/subscribe. Both of those links can be found in the podcast description. Thank you for helping us share God's Word.